Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jen, and I'm super excited to talk to you today. This is another episode of my Tech Tips 411 Summer PD series. And today we're going to be talking about awesome assessment tools. Thank you so much for your time. If you're tuning in live, thanks so much. Let me know. Drop a hi in the chat. Let me know where you're from. And please feel free to ask questions as we go through this session. If we've not connected before, I'm just going to say, hey, my name is Jennifer Holland. I'm an educational technology specialist. Here's all my social media connections here and my website information. So please, if you haven't already done so, subscribe so that we can connect as I do some more PDs this year. Awesome. So let's jump in. Today, we're talking about awesome assessment tools. And I've picked three we're going to focus on. There's so many cool different tools that you can use with your students, but we're going to talk about three main ones that are very effective for definitely for distance learning and what we're dealing with right now. And we'll talk about how you can use and why you would pick which one over the other, depending on what your scenario is. So my name is Jennifer Hall. If this is the first time you've popped by this channel, you just stumbled across this video. I'm an educational technology specialist with Atlanta Public Schools. And in my role, I work with teachers. I provide training, and I collaborate and plan with them on how to create engaging lessons using instructional technology. So thank you so much for tuning in. So our goals for our time today are that we're going to, let's see here. There we go. We're going to gain some ideas for using game-based assessments for distance learning, professional learning. We're going to explore some features of some game-based assessment tools, and we're going to learn tips for using game-based assessments for synchronous as well as asynchronous tools time as well. So the first tool I want to talk about is Kahoot. We're also going to talk about quizzes, and we're going to talk about GimKit. And a lot of people know about Kahoot and quizzes, but our bonus is we want to talk about GimKit because it's a new tool that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. All right. So first things first, Kahoot. I love Kahoot. Kahoot was really kind of the one that set the mold and kind of just put everybody on fire with this game-based concept for using games like this to engage your learners. And I remember I had just come out of the classroom and Kahoot was launched, and I was like, oh my goodness, where was Kahoot when I was in the classroom? Because my students would have loved this. And I had the opportunity to train teachers and work with them on ways to use Kahoot. And I've seen so many people use it and do creative things with it. So we're first going to look at Kahoot, talk about some new features that they have that you might not be aware of, and just some ways that maybe you might want to use it with your learners. So if you're not already familiar with Kahoot, you're going to be one of the few people that have not, because look at this, look at how many players we got. So many players, 1 billion. I think that's what it said. And what's great is it's easy. You create one, you host, you share, you play. Simple enough. What's great though, is that when you use Kahoot, you can create your Kahoots, and they have a free version as well as now a paid version. And I often get asked, well, what's the difference? Well, you can still have a free account and you can create Kahoots and get the data. The difference with the paid account is that it gives you a higher level of data, and it's a collaborative opportunity for you to share with your data within your school. So a lot of times it's a school that might purchase that option so that you have the sharing for the data feature. But you can use the free one. You also, with the paid version, are going to have access to a few more features, and we'll talk about that. So if we take a look here, we've got, we go to create questions, you have different options. And so for the difference between Kahoot and we'll talk about quizzes and then GimKit is that Kahoot was designed as, an activity you did with your whole class. So everybody's paying attention on your smart board or your Promethean board or whatever, you've got projected on the screen, and everybody's got their own device, or you could actually do teams and let them share devices, and then you have them participate. So they've added some features, and we're going to talk about that makes it work for synchronous and asynchronous virtual learning as well. So you just create your questions, and you can do multiple choice questions. But here's what a lot of people miss is, like, I don't have to start from scratch. I can use their question bank. And when I use the question bank, this is fantastic. I can go in and search for the topic I want. So the question bank is a newer feature in the last couple of years. When it first came out, this wasn't an option. So it means I can search. For example, I'm doing a lesson on Shakespeare, and I can type in Shakespeare, and it's going to pull up all questions about Shakespeare. That is super cool because I work smarter, not harder, right? So when I go in to add questions, I've got a couple of options here. Under the free version, you've only got two types. You've got the quiz, which is your multiple choice, which can be multiple choice, 2 choices, 3, 4, or you have the true or false option. Notice they've added in these other options here: open-ended, a puzzle, a poll, and slide. Those are under the premium option. So you get a couple of different question types if you upgrade. Okay. So definitely something to consider. But for the purpose of what most teachers are using it, you're going to get what you need out of the quiz and the true false. Okay. So now they've added, if you log in now, you get the option for going teach live or assigning. So before, when Kahoot first came out, you didn't have the opportunity to use it self-paced. It was, you played in live in class, and that was it. Now you have the opportunity to assign it and push it out, and students can participate at their own pace, which is pretty cool. So I do like that option. So some things that are pretty cool about it is that you have the classic mode, which everybody has their own device, or you can have team mode. That works if you have shared devices. When we get back in the real world and we get back to the classroom, that comes in handy. If you are not one-to-one at your school, you can use the team option. But then there's some cool things that you can go in and you can change up. You can randomize the order of your questions, which comes in handy if the kids are doing it at their own pace. You can randomize the order of the answers. So again, own pace, even in the classroom, because that way you don't have them peeking over, looking at each other's answers. Then you also have the ability to put in some instructions in here, and you can verify some different things. Automatically move through the questions. Personally, I think that is a really cool option, because of the fact that I might want to, as a teacher, I don't want to have to be out there and click every single time. Now, when I would do Kahoots with classes, I would push into classes and use it. I liked the fact that we'd do a question and we'd see how we did. And then that was an opportunity to reteach right then. So for example, I got to participate with one of my Spanish teachers in a virtual lesson. He invited me to come in. He said, all right, I'm doing a lesson. I'm going to use Kahoot. Could you come in and just, support and see how I facilitate the lesson? I was like, sure. Fantastic. Love the idea. So I joined this teacher, and I got to watch how the teacher used it as a teaching tool. So they asked a question, the kids responded, and this was a virtual lesson. They responded, and then he took the opportunity to say, okay, let's look at where we got this wrong. I saw, a number of you got it wrong. So this is my opportunity to reteach. So Kahoot is really good for that if you're doing it whole class and everybody's on the same page at the same time. You're getting that data, but you're also having the opportunity to reteach, which is super cool. Okay. So let's take a look here at some other things. I can assign it, and I can easily share it to a number of platforms. So if you are a Google Classroom user, boom, share it directly to Google Classroom. You can also share it to Microsoft Teams. You can share it out with Remind if you're using Remind. Super easy right there. Oh, thank you right there. I got a shout out right there. Look at that. Thank you, Patricia. Yeah, great idea to pause and reteach. That's the benefit of using Kahoot. So think about it if you're using it as an intro activity or a review at the end of your lesson. And even in a virtual setting, I can use it as, okay, we've gone through one question. Now let's talk about that. How do we do? And it's also a great opportunity when everybody gets it right to celebrate in between each question. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So once I share it out, I copy and paste that link. I can give the pin. So depending on however you're sharing this out with your students, you can easily push that out. But I love that it automatically has an integration for Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams. Makes it super easy to push it out. So I've seen a lot of teachers that are already using this. They've used it inside of a Google Meet. You can use it with Zoom. You can use it with Skype, and you can use it with Microsoft Teams. I can go to a live game with Kahoot just like that. So the cool thing is that, using Kahoot, I have that opportunity. Normally when I do this training, I have participants, and we go through and we play each one of the games, and we talk about what we like and don't like about it. It's a little bit different doing this virtually and having people tune in and tuning in later. So we don't get to do the games live, but normally I would share out that code right there, and we would join and participate in a game. So super easy, share out the pin, and you're rocking and rolling. So then the next question is, okay, what's the data I get? Because I support teachers, and I have instructional coaches going, I don't want my teachers just playing a game just to play a game. What is the purpose? And to me, I'm always pointing out, I'm getting a lot of good data, and you do get good data from Kahoot. So they've changed things now with the premium option, is where you get a deep dive data on your dashboard live inside the platform if you have the premium feature. But if you just have the free version, you can still download your Excel spreadsheet and you have all your data. So here's what that looks like. Let's take a look. It's super cool because I can go in here. I can see overall my student performance and I can drill down. There's multiple tabs. I can go down here to the tab view and I can see the additional breakdowns. So I do need to download it to take a look at a deeper dive, but guess what? I've got that. And now since it's in an Excel spreadsheet, I can convert it to a Google Sheet if you're a Google district and you want to share out the data that way. But you've got that data and you can point out to your instructional coaches and your instructional leaders that are saying, well, why are you using this Kahoot? You're going to say, look, this is the data I got from my learners based on this activity. Okay. So definitely like that you have that option. You do get a more robust dashboard in the paid version, but in the free version, I can download that Excel spreadsheet and I'm going to get all the data I need immediately. Okay. I can drill down. Look at this. I can drill down and I can see over here, how did my students do? And I blocked out my player numbers, but I can say, like, look at this, 100%. They knocked it out of the park. But look at this, these students down here. This is in the red zone. I need to revisit that. That's obviously something that's reteaching for that particular student, or that might be something that I need to, if multiple students are having a problem with it, I might revisit that with multiple students. Okay. So there's that data inside of Kahoot. So I can drill down, I can take a look. Super great information that you can get from Kahoot. So some ways you can use it. And again, I referenced that Spanish teacher I worked with, and this is actually a snapshot from that lesson. It was so much fun. Using it as a pre-assessment, using it as a lesson pulse check, using it for formative and summative assessment, and you can plug it in at any time in the lesson. And the advantage of using Kahoot is it is game-based. So the kids are like, ooh, we're playing a Kahoot, but you're also getting that data. So it's informing your instruction. So those are just some of the reasons I like Kahoot and kind of some of the updates that are available there. So let's look at tool number 2. And this is not, I guess, a competition between the tools. It's really, you have multiple tools in your toolbox and you got to pick which one you want to use when. And so let's take a look at quizzes. And when quizzes came out, I was like, this is Kahoot on steroids. That's the best way to describe it, because it took all the awesome things that are in Kahoot. And a lot of those things have now been, they've added a lot of new features into Kahoot, but quizzes just kind of leveled up. And let's talk about it. So if you're not familiar with quizzes, there's a great question. I love it. Mr. Gill says, is there a way to correlate standards with the questions? Yes. You can go in and you can tag your standards inside it. Yes. So you can, that's an option when you create your questions, you can tag it to standards. Very good question. So I'm going to go in here. I got my quizzes, and what I can do is, I love that when I launch it, it's like, well, what are you wanting to teach today? And it's already got quizzes all ready to go. So I could go in and just pick one of these that's recommended, and I can also go in and edit it. So, which is super easy. They have the ability, so I can look at this. They've even organized it by content areas. So I kind of think that levels it up. I could go and be like, I know I need ELA stuff. Let's see what the new ELA stuff is. I'm looking for math stuff. I can look under math. Okay. When I go to create a quiz, it's going to ask me, what are my relevant classes? What is this for? So I have my stuff. I have me tagged as media and technology, but for you, you would tag it. It's obviously a science lesson, or in Mr. Gill's case, it's a world language lesson for Spanish. So you can tag your subject areas when you create your account. So I can go in here and I can create my questions. So it asks me what I want to do with my questions. So here's where it gets really powerful. I can add in images as my question or my answer choices. This is really good for your visual learners, or if you're just teaching a class, for example, in science, and you need to have a image that students need to identify. So I can add in write my question, and I can add in images as an option, which is super, super cool. It also has the ability to do, and it's a little hard to see right here, but right over here is the functions option. All right, I'm gonna go back one here. There we go. It highlighted right there. There's the functions option. So I can add in, for my math teachers, I can make these high-level math questions. All right. So when I go to create my questions, I've got some options. I have multiple choice questions. I got check boxes, fill in the blank, poll, and open-ended. So now this is in the free version of quizzes. Notice I've got a few more question types. So if I'm thinking about the assessment I'm designing, I'm thinking about what type of questions I'm going to use, and do I need these other options? So this comes in really handy for polling the audience. When you encounter a new content, just kind of gauge students' comfort level. How much do you know about this subject already? What is your comfort level with it? You can ask those kind of questions, and I can say, all right, I'm just polling the audience. It's no right or wrong answer. And then students kind of feel a little bit more comfortable when they're encountering that content. So I used to do a lot of just test the waters. How familiar are you with concepts before we would start stuff in ELA? And this is a great way to do that, because they have different question types. Okay. So The other cool thing up here is I've got this teleport option. So if I look at teleport, up in the upper corner there, teleport is their version of bringing in questions and looking for them. So I can go in here and I put in superheroes just for fun. I was searching, I wanted questions on superheroes. When I looked up that, it brought up every single superhero question that I want. And all I got to do is add it. I go over here and I click add, and it drops it right into my assessment that I'm already creating. Okay. So don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just need to look for the right wheel. So I'm of the mindset that you look and you're going to find questions. I did a session earlier today on Google Classroom, and I put in a quizzes to show how you use it. And I just did one on a general trivia just for fun. And I just put in general trivia and just pulled in some random questions. I pulled an ELA question, a math question, science question, so that every participant had a question hopefully they would feel comfortable with. And I love it. Right here, Patricia, I agree with you. What is this? Teleport is such a time saver. Yeah. Let's work smarter, not harder. Let's, we don't need to spend so much time typing up our own questions. Now, you can copy and paste in if you have an assessment you already have lined up, but you definitely want to take a look at that teleport option. So I'm going to go in here, and now I'm going to look at some data, and notice that I've got options here. I've got my quizzes, and I can look under quizzes, and I can choose to push them out. And I've got, look at this. I got a ton of quizzes I'm using with my learners. And I can modify them. And here's the great thing is if you create an assessment, and when we talk about differentiation, and this really does work for your learners. If you think about it, when we plan for differentiation, we usually plan for the middle, like the on grade level student here. So if I plan my quiz here, I can duplicate that quiz and I can differentiate it down, adjusting for levels for my diverse learners, or I can go high to accelerate my learners. So you create one quiz and then you go in and just change out the content on that. Okay. So you might, one of the main ways to differentiate is go in and set the time and give a little bit more time for your learners. Okay. Because there is a timer on there. Let's take a look here. So when I go into quizzes, I have options. I can play my game live, which is great. The advantage of playing live with quizzes is I can watch the data coming in. Students don't have to watch my screen. With Kahoot, especially younger learners and diverse learners, they often struggle with looking at the screen and then looking down to ring in on their device and looking at the screen and looking down at their device. That can be a little challenging for them. Versus quizzes, I've got my questions and answers on my device right in front of me. So there's that comfort level. And some students do a lot better with that. So we can play live together, or I can assign it for homework. And assigning for homework is the best thing. So I can choose my options. Classic means everybody has their own device and it's self-paced. They have a team challenge now, which is pretty cool. And then the test option is timed and allows you to use it as an assessment tool. So to join, we just do that joinmyquiz.com. You give them a code. So again, you'll notice that Kahoot and Quiz is very similar with you go to a site, you put in a code, or you share a link in your Google Classroom or your Microsoft team. So I can go in and change some settings, which is pretty cool. I can set the time of when this is going to go live and how long they have to complete this. I can choose this. This is the one that I really like for under quizzes is I can set the number of attempts. If you notice over here right now, it's unlimited attempts. This means I want you for reinforcement to be able to do this more than once. There's a benefit to that. If this is not a quiz grade, this is more of I just need to know what you know. I can have students participate more than once because having it again and again, that repetition helps us get to mastery. Okay. I can also turn on showing the answers in the game. Maybe I want them to be able to see the answers. Maybe I want them to see the answers post game. Like at the end of it, if they didn't get it right, they're going to get to see it and then they could try it again. Okay. So definitely cool features that are available in there that you can use. And there's some other advanced settings. They have a new feature called power-ups. So as you get more questions right, you level up, like you get these streaks. It's super cool. And you get some bonus points and other abilities, which is pretty cool. So that's a new feature. I can turn the timer on or off for each question. The advantage to that is if you're working with your diverse learners, you're thinking about, okay, is it about accuracy or is it about time? Sometimes you need accuracy within a certain amount of time. You can show the leaderboard. So if you do want to have that up on the screen, so the kids like to see that because, they love that competition, that's a pretty cool option. And then you can shuffle the question order. So obviously in a remote learning situation, that's beneficial, but not as much needed because they're on their own devices in their own homes. So definitely think those are cool features there as well. Again, I can share these to Google Classroom. I can share it out to other platforms as well. So notice I got a couple more options in here that is not available in Kahoot. I can push it out to Canvas, and I can push it out to Schoology as well as Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom. So that gives you 2 more LMSs if that's what you're using in your school district. So that might be more appealing for you as well. Okay. So one of the other things that kind of stands out with quizzes is the fact that they have their memes. And if you've ever played a quiz, it's one of the quizzes. It's super fun because after each question, you have silly memes. They pop up. Kids get a kick out of it. It's super fun. But I bet you didn't know, or maybe you did, you can create your own meme set. That's kind of cool. You could create a meme set of you and your fellow teachers or your principal or your administrators that want to be silly. And you can do a meme set that's tailored to your school, or you can do a meme set tailored to your content area. So you can have multiple ones. So I have the random one selected, but notice I could create a meme set and I would have my own in there, which is kind of cool. So one of my goals is I need to make a Bitmoji theme set with my Genmoji so that when I create my quizzes for my PDs, all of the memes will be Genmoji memes, which I think would be fun. So now let's take a look at the data. So on their dashboard, I have that opportunity to see a lot more information in there. So I can take a look at my data. I'm going to see my accuracy on each of my quizzes. There is the opportunity down here for me to download to an Excel spreadsheet, which is pretty cool. So I can drill down to the data. I can see the accuracy. I can see on the number of attempts. And I can also drill down by question. So I can take a look at this one and I can say, this is the correct answer. And the majority of people got it right. So I got a couple players here that obviously were tricked up by what this question was. And I can see the majority of them here got this one right as well. So I can drill down by question. And so that's going to inform my instruction because now I'm going to see, all right, what do we need to work on? What do I need to revisit? Okay, so let's drill down and look a little bit more at this data piece. So I can drill down and I always think green is good, red is bad. So I can take a look at this and I can see, hey, we are knocking it out of the park over here, but I got 3 students right here that got it wrong. Was it, did they just misclick? Because that does happen. Or did they really not get it? But what's really cool right here is that I can see the time that they spent on it. If you hover over a wrong answer, or even a right answer, if you want to just check on that, it will tell you how long that student spent on that particular question. I don't know about you, but I think that is a super cool option. How cool is that for you to verify? Did they really look at the question or were they just guessing? Were they just click, 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 click because they thought that that would be the right answer? Okay. So I do like that. That's an added feature that's inside of quizzes. If I hover over it, I can see how much time is spent on that question. So if there's only 2 seconds, it's either they were too quick or they inadvertently punched it wrong. Just, something to consider. All right. So now let's talk about our third one. So far, I love Kahoot. I love quizzes. Different reasons, different purposes. And then along comes Gimkit. And if you're not familiar with Gimkit, it is a tool that takes all of the cool stuff of Kahoot and quizzes and just amplifies it. And the most amazing thing is it was created by a high school kid who got tired of playing Kahoots. I think that's hilarious. He was like, I think we could do more. And so this guy's now in college and he has business and he created it and it's super cool. So let's dive in. If you're not familiar with Gimkit, you're definitely going to like it. It's a lot of cool features. So at the end of the session, I will drop this presentation link into the description of this video. And I will also post links to each of the sites for you to check out. So let's take a look at Gimkit. So what's really cool about Gimkit is you can sign up. There is a free account. I love it. Patricia says, yes, Gimkit is quizzes definitely on steroids. So it's like you've got Kahoot, quizzes, and then now you've gone all the way to the top and it's out of control. And I got Mr. Gill says, you love Gimkit. Do the kids love it? That's the other thing. I think the kids think it's so much fun. So sign up for your Gimkit account for free. And so there's freemium options. So let's take a look. So under the basic one, which is free, you have some features and you get 5 kits. A kit is considered a game. You get 5. And if you register now, like right now, well, after we're done with this session, and you register now and you put in that you are an educator, you will get a bonus 5 kits and that takes you to 10 because they were giving away a bonus 5 kits, excuse me, during with us being out for COVID-19. So go ahead and get your free 5 kits. So then there's the pro version, gives you some more options. And that's $4.99 a month. And then it moves up to some higher level stuff if you want. So I tell teachers that, $4.99, $5 a month. That's just like one less trip to Starbucks. It might be worth it depending on your learners. You might find it really beneficial. So let's take a look and see what is a kit and what makes GimKit a little bit different than the 2 tools we've already talked about. So again, I said a kit is what we would consider a game. Now, it says you get 5 kits. And I learned this, that I thought, okay, you could have 5 simultaneous kits. No, once you've made a kit, that counts. So even if you delete it, you've used it. And you only, under the free version, have so many edits under the kit, but you can use it as many times as you want. So for example, I did an ELA terms one for training I did on for ELA teachers earlier this year. And I just put a bunch of terms in there, and I think it's probably got 60 questions in it. So what's cool is that I can create a kit. I can add in my questions. I can create with flashcards. So it has a collaboration. If you have all of these Quizlet flashcards, you can pull those in to make your assessment. And you can use the Kitka Lab, which allows your students to contribute questions, which is kind of cool. Or you can search the question bank, and so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And they have the import from a spreadsheet. So if you have a list of questions you've already created in a spreadsheet, you can bring that in, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to have to give it some basic information: name, language, subject. And then there's that creating, importing from flashcards, which is a really cool option. And then it's game time, and we have options. We can play live, or we can make it a homework assignment. Now, the playing live with GimKit is where it's all about, because the kids like to compete together. But I like that it does have the assign for homework as well. So you're going to pick which one you want to do. And since I'm doing this, I can do this for a synchronous assessment. So we're doing this together as a class. We're going to play it live, or I could go ahead and send it and let the students participate in it before class or after class. I like that homework option. And so I can choose some elements. So what makes GimKit a little bit different is in quizzes and Kahoot, you're earning points, but in GimKit, you're earning dollars. So kids are all about getting that bread, making that money. So they find that very engaging, because you can set like target cash. I want you to play, for example, 100. I want you to play until you earn $100. Okay. This is giving that target. So that means I'm going to keep working until that happens. So I can do that. And I can even help students out. Think of it like Monopoly. When you start off with your cash initially, you can choose how much cash that your participants have there, your students have. So you can do that, which is pretty cool. So I have options for how I play this. I can play in classic mode, which is everybody plays individually. They have a team mode, which is super cool, which allows everybody's points go together. And it's collaborative. And then they have different fun modes, like here's humans versus zombies. And they do have different special things, again, created by a high schooler who's now in college, who likes to add different elements. Like when the Avengers was out, they had a Thanos theme, and it was Avengers. And your goal was to collect all of the stones, to collect all of the affinity stones. If you're an Avengers fan, a lot of the kids really thought that was super cool. So it was like the glove that Thanos had, and you had to collect all the infinity stones. Super cool. So makes it different, and they add different themes and add in bonuses throughout. So you just got to pay attention for when those are popping out. Again, kids love it because they're all about trying to get that bread, earn those points. So you can set the game goal. You can set that time goal. You can make it be a race. You can make it be all in, which means your $100 goes with everybody else's $100, and we're going to see how long it takes for everybody to get to whatever amount you set. Okay. There's some other features that are available in there. You can give them that starting cash. You can turn that on. You can give the answer check. So here's one of the things that's different about GimKit. So if I've got 50 questions, I can set the time, and we're going to only spend 5 minutes at the exit or at the entrance of class just for fun. This is our warm up. Repetition wise, in 50 questions, you might not see it a lot. But if you had a 10 question test and you gave it to them, or a kit, they would see the questions over and over and over in a 5 minute time period or a 10-minute time period. So the repetition piece is what kind of sets GimKit out and from the others, is the fact that automatically I don't have to play the game again. Within the game, I'm going to see the same questions again if I got it wrong or if I got it right, just for that reinforcement. There's options for music, and Patricia says she loves the music. The kids love it. There's the clapping option, and then you can take a look at the themes and then the power-ups. So you might be wondering, okay, so it's about dollars. What does that do? So the kids can actually go into the store and they can purchase things, and they can purchase power-ups, and they can purchase the option of, like, for every correct answer, they earn more points or more dollars. So basically it's teaching them about economics in the sense that you can choose to spend your money to earn money, or you can spend your money blocking other players and other stuff like that. So I'm just curious, since Patricia looks like you are a GimKit user, do your kids really like the store feature? Do they like the opportunity to buy and level up and all of that? I'm just curious. So let's look at the data. I'm going to give Patricia hopefully a chance to drop that in the chat, what her students think about it in terms of the using of money and being able to buy things in the store. Let's look at the data. Now, the data is not as robust as the others, but that's okay. I can see a student overview. I can get a general overview of, how the students did. I can look down here. I've got the question, so I can kind of drill down that way. So the reports are there, but they're not as, I would say, robust as the others. But that's okay. It's a newer tool, so they're adding features, and you stay tuned, and you never know what else they might add. Okay, so the goal of this session was to talk about 3 tools. That was our goal. So the question is, what should I use? It really depends on what is your purpose for your assessment. Are you wanting to use it as an entrance and an exit ticket? Are you wanting it to be a whole class, everybody's participating? Are you wanting it to be a homework task? Is the goal to teach them some remediation skills? Mr. Gill says they love the Power Up feature. That's fantastic. So, you're going to ask that question before you decide which of the tools you're going to want to use. So I kind of think that that's important to think, okay, which one should I use, and tailor which is going to be best for your learners. And here's the thing. You want to have more than one tool in your toolbox. You don't want to burn them out on Kahoot. You don't want to burn them out on quizzes. You don't want to burn them out on GimKit. Now that you've got 3 tools you can use, you can kind of switch it up so it's a little bit different. For example, I do a Shakespeare Lights, Camera, Action project. And what I do is we do multiple lessons, and each lesson I use a different assessment tool. Okay. So that way students are exposed to different assessment styles instead of it all being Kahoot or quizzes or GimKit all the time. And it just mixes it up, and that variety is something that they definitely like. All right. So our goals were to gain ideas for game-based learning, explore features of some game-based assessment tools, and looking at using it for synchronous and asynchronous learning. That was what our goals were. Questions, comments, thoughts. If you've got any questions, please, drop them in the chat real quick. I want to allow some time for that. I hope that this, just quick overview and talking about ways you could use those 3 tools with your learners was beneficial. That was the goal, was just to talk about those 3 tools. There are so many other tools available. I mean, there are tons of assessment tools, and I'm going to put a link in the description to my page that has all different ones, because you might want to take a look at some other tools. I definitely think you should do that. I do want to point out, if you haven't already checked out, that resources page is available on my Tech Tips 411 site. And so it's under assessments, and I'm going to link it in the description as well. If you aren't already signed up for my weekly tech tips, please do that. Do sign up. If you are one of my teachers that is at one of my assigned schools, you already get it because I'm sending it out, but I have other folks that like to request to sign up. So that is available. If you are interested, I'll drop that link in the description as well. And also check out my mobile app, which has kind of everything on my site in the palm of your hand. In case you want to check that out, please do so. So just a friendly reminder, obviously you found this session. I'm super excited you joined me for today's session. Let me pull up here real quick. I had 2 windows going, and we're multitasking here. We're going to hop over here. There it is. And all right, got it. So here is our other trainings that are coming up. Today we're here for assessment tools. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about G Suite tips and tricks. Some of my favorite tips for Google, Doc Slides, Drive, and all of that good stuff. Next week I'll be talking about project ideas using G Suite, talking about some creation tools and all the Adobe tools, online collaboration, and some other tools for the 4 Cs. So I've got 2 more weeks of these PDs that I'll be doing live streaming at 2 p.m. each day. And then I get to have a little bit of a vacation. But please let me know if you found this beneficial, if you thought that this session was of interest and you learned maybe 1 or 2 tips. That was the goal. And if so, please give this video a like, and go ahead and subscribe to my channel. That way that you'll be alerted for the next upcoming PDs, so that you know what we're doing. Thank you so much for those of you that tuned in live. If you're watching this on replay, I appreciate your time, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.